They mocked humanity from the high ground, until their heads exploded, one by one. The Zephyrian High Council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian, its ceiling lost in artificial mist that sparkled with bioluminescent organisms. Admiral Kythera stood at the center podium, her 4 arms gesturing dramatically as holographic displays showed the latest intelligence reports from the human territories. "Behold, the pathetic creatures that dare call themselves a spacefaring civilization," she announced, her voice carrying across the vast chamber through neural amplification. The assembled council members, representing 17 different alien species, leaned forward with interest. Some had tentacles that writhed with amusement, others had crystalline faces that chimed with what could only be described as laughter. The hologram shifted to show human settlements on the outer rim worlds. Small domed cities, mining operations, and research stations dotted the planets like scattered coins. To the Zephyrian Alliance, these looked primitive beyond belief. "Look at their technology," Kythera continued, zooming in on a human mining facility on Kepler 442b. "They still use mechanical excavators, physical labor performed by biological entities. Their starships require months to travel between systems, burning chemical fuel like ancient torches in the void." Council member Vextar, whose species had transcended physical form 3 millennia ago, manifested his displeasure through a series of electromagnetic pulses. "Why do we even concern ourselves with these humans? They pose no threat to our expansion. Let them play in their dirt while we claim the truly valuable systems." Because, Kythera's mandibles clicked with satisfaction, they occupy 17 systems that contain rare Earth elements we need for our dimensional drives, systems they cannot properly utilize due to their primitive understanding of quantum mechanics. The hologram changed again, showing detailed scans of human military installations, missile silos, orbital defense platforms, and what the aliens recognized as their most advanced warships. The assembled council buzzed with what could only be described as condescending amusement. "Their most powerful weapons operate on nuclear principles," Kythera explained, her tone dripping with disdain. "Crude fusion and fission devices that would barely scratch our shield matrices. Their advanced plasma weapons require massive power cores and have effective ranges measured in mere thousands of kilometers." Elder Zomkala of the crystalline hegemony chimed in, his voice resonating like struck cathedral bells. "Their neural development ceased at basic consciousness levels. No telepathic abilities, no quantum thought processing, no dimensional awareness. They perceive only 3 spatial dimensions and linear time flow." "Exactly," Kythera agreed, manipulating the display to show human brain scans. "Their cognitive limitations are almost tragic. They cannot even perceive our true forms when we operate in higher dimensional space. To them, we appear as mere shadows or unexplained phenomena." The mockery continued as various council members shared their own observations of human limitations. The ethereal collective had observed human attempts at faster-than-light travel, noting how they still relied on crude wormhole generation rather than simply existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The hive mind confederacy found human individuality both amusing and inefficient, comparing their social structures to those of primitive insects. "Their emotional responses are particularly entertaining," added Counselor Thessara, whose species had evolved beyond such primitive brain chemistry. "They experience fear, anger, and something they call hope, as if these chemical reactions have meaning in the cosmic order." The holographic display shifted to show recorded footage of human diplomatic attempts. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in what humans considered their finest ceremonial uniform, offering a formal first contact package to an alien probe that had appeared in the Sol system 6 months earlier. "Watch this," Kythera commanded, and the recording played. Ambassador Chen spoke carefully prepared words about peace, cooperation, and mutual benefit. The alien probe, operated remotely by the Zephyrian Alliance, had recorded everything while remaining completely silent. "She believes she is addressing equals," Kithara noted with amusement. The human leadership actually prepared for months, crafting what they considered the perfect message to represent their species. They included mathematical principles, artistic expressions, and even biological samples. The council chamber filled with various expressions of alien mirth. Some species laughed through bioluminescent displays, others through harmonic vibrations, and a few through chemical releases that changed the local atmosphere's color. "They sent us pictures of their offspring," Thesara added, accessing the human diplomatic package. "As if we would find these tiny, helpless creatures endearing rather than evidence of their species' fundamental weakness." Elder Zomkala's crystalline form shifted colors as he processed the information. "Their reproduction requires two separate biological entities and produces offspring that remain helpless for approximately 18 standard cycles. Inefficient beyond measure. The most amusing part," Kithara continued, "is their attempt to demonstrate their scientific achievements. They included data about splitting the atom, discovering electromagnetic radiation, and their recent development of basic artificial intelligence. The hologram displayed human mathematical formulas, musical compositions, and artistic works that the diplomatic team had considered representative of human civilization's highest achievements. To the assembled aliens, these looked like the scribblings of particularly clever bacteria. Their artificial intelligence operates at computational levels we achieved during our earliest technological development," noted Vextar. "What they consider revolutionary thinking machines, we used as children's toys millions of years ago." Kithara gestured toward the star maps showing human territory. "But their limitations make them perfect test subjects for our new pacification technologies. We can study the effectiveness of our dimensional weapons on a species too primitive to comprehend what is happening to them." The vote to proceed with human conquest was unanimous. Why wouldn't it be? The Zephyrian Alliance commanded technology that operated across 17 dimensions. They could manipulate matter at the quantum level, existed partially outside normal space-time, and had conquered 47 different galactic civilizations over the past 10 million years. "The operation will commence in 30 standard cycles," Kithara announced. "We will begin with their outer rim colonies, using them as laboratories to perfect our techniques. The humans will never understand what destroyed them." As the council session concluded, the alien representatives dispersed to their various dimensional planes and stellar territories, each carrying amusing stories about the primitive humans who thought they could join the galactic community. None of them had bothered to dig deeper into human history, to examine what drove this young species to spread across the stars despite their apparent limitations. None of them had studied human warfare beyond the surface level of their technology. They saw the missiles, the plasma weapons, and the basic AI systems, but they never examined the tactical thinking, the strategic adaptation, or the psychological framework that made humans dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with technology. They had observed human diplomacy and found it quaint, never recognizing the sophisticated intelligence gathering embedded in every peaceful gesture. They had watched human expansion and seen only crude determination, missing the careful planning and resource management that made it possible. Most critically, they had never asked themselves a simple question. If humans were truly as primitive and limited as they appeared, how had they managed to spread across 17 star systems in less than 3 centuries? The answer to that question was about to become extremely relevant, but the Zephyrian Alliance would not live long enough to appreciate the lesson. Admiral Marcus Webb stood in the command center of Titan Station, watching the holographic displays with the calm expression that had earned him respect throughout the human fleet. The massive space station orbited Saturn, its rings providing both camouflage and strategic positioning for humanity's most classified military operations. "Sir, we have confirmation," reported Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, her fingers dancing across quantum processing interfaces. "The aliens initiated first contact protocols exactly as our psychological models predicted. The probe has been broadcasting continuously for 6 months, recording everything we deliberately allowed them to see." Webb nodded slowly, his weathered face betraying no emotion. "Show me the real data." The holographic display shifted to reveal the truth that the alien observers had never suspected. Hidden beneath Saturn's atmospheric interference, Titan Station was not the simple research facility it appeared to be. It was humanity's first fully operational four-dimensional military complex, its true structure extending into spatial dimensions that most alien species had only theoretical understanding of. "The Zephyrians have no idea we can perceive their higher dimensional activities," Dr. Elena Vasquez explained, materializing through a dimensional fold that brought her from the station's physics laboratory to the command center in seconds. "They believe they're invisible to us, operating in what they call superior dimensional space." "Their mistake," Webb replied, studying the tactical displays that showed alien fleet movements across multiple dimensional planes. "How long before they begin their attack?" "Based on their council meeting, which we monitored through quantum entanglement eavesdropping, approximately 3 weeks," Kim answered. "They plan to start with our outer rim colonies, using them as testing grounds for weapons they believe we cannot comprehend." Webb smiled grimly. "Dr. Vasquez, are our defensive systems ready?" "Beyond ready, Admiral. The aliens have made the classic mistake of superior technology cultures throughout history. They've become so dependent on their advanced capabilities that they've forgotten how to adapt when those capabilities are neutralized." The display showed what appeared to be standard human colonies on the outer rim worlds: mining operations, agricultural settlements, and research stations that looked exactly like what the aliens expected to see. But these were elaborate facades concealing the true nature of humanity's expansion. "Explain it for the recording," Webb commanded, knowing that future human historians would need to understand what happened next. Dr. Vasquez moved to the central console, her augmented reality interfaces responding to thoughts transmitted through neural implants that the aliens had never detected. "Humanity's greatest advantage has always been our adaptability and our willingness to learn from others, even enemies. When the first alien probe arrived 6 months ago, we immediately began reverse engineering their technology. The probe was scanning us continuously, but what the aliens didn't realize was that we were scanning them right back. Their dimensional manipulation technology operates on principles we had already theorized but never implemented. They gave us the final pieces of the puzzle." The holographic display showed the real human installations: vast underground complexes that extended through folded space, weapons platforms that existed partially in multiple dimensions, and manufacturing facilities that produced exotic matter using principles borrowed and improved from alien science. "How did we advance so quickly?" Webb asked, still playing his role for the historical record. "Because we're good at stealing," Dr. Vasquez replied with a slight smile. "Every human colony that the aliens have been observing is actually a sophisticated intelligence-gathering operation. We've been analyzing their technology, their communication methods, their tactical doctrines, and most importantly, their weaknesses." Lieutenant Commander Kim highlighted specific areas on the tactical display. "The Zephyrian Alliance has 17 member species, but they've never actually fought a war against an opponent with comparable technology. For 10 million years, they've only conquered civilizations that were significantly less advanced than themselves. Their military doctrine is designed around technological superiority, not tactical innovation," Dr. Vasquez added. "They approach warfare like a scientist approaches bacteria in a petri dish. Observe, apply predetermined solutions, analyze results." But humans don't fight like bacteria, Webb observed. We fight like humans. The display showed archived footage from humanity's own history of warfare. Ancient battles where technologically inferior forces had defeated superior ones through superior tactics, better intelligence, and more effective use of available resources. The Mongols conquering civilizations with superior metallurgy, Vietnamese fighters defeating technologically advanced armies. Small nations resisting superpowers through asymmetric warfare. The aliens studied our current technology but ignored our military history, Kim explained. They saw our nuclear weapons and plasma cannons, but they never examined how we actually use them. They observed our AI systems but missed the fact that we've been developing quantum consciousness interfaces for 50 years. They think they understand human limitations, Dr. Vasquez continued, but they've never tested those assumptions against reality. They believe we're constrained by three-dimensional thinking, but they've never wondered why a three-dimensional species would develop theoretical physics that describes 17 different dimensional states. Webb gestured toward the strategic overview, showing the real scope of human expansion. Show them what they missed. The display revealed the truth about human colonization. Every mining operation was also a military engineering project designed to create defensive positions that could operate across multiple dimensional planes. Every research station was simultaneously developing new weapon systems based on captured alien technology. Every agricultural settlement was also a logistics base capable of supporting military operations indefinitely. The aliens see what they expect to see, Kim explained. A primitive species struggling to survive in hostile environments. They never asked themselves why humans chose those specific systems to colonize. Because every system we've occupied contains natural dimensional instabilities that we can weaponize, Dr. Vasquez answered. Kepler-442b isn't valuable because of its rare Earth elements. It's valuable because its magnetic field creates natural quantum tunneling effects that we can amplify into weapons. The Zephyrians have been observing us for 6 months, gathering intelligence for their attack, Webb noted. But we've been observing them for the same 6 months, preparing for something they'll never expect. A fair fight, Kim said quietly. The holographic display showed the approaching alien fleet, 17 massive ships operating across multiple dimensional planes, each one capable of destroying an entire solar system using conventional human understanding of physics. But the display also showed what the aliens couldn't see, human defensive systems that had been designed specifically to counter their advantages. The first rule of human warfare, Webb announced to his command staff, is that the enemy gets a vote. The Zephyrians have planned this campaign based on fighting an enemy that doesn't know they exist and can't fight back effectively. But we do know they exist, Dr. Vasquez added. We've known about them since the day their probe arrived, and we've spent every moment since then preparing to give them the kind of fight they've never experienced. They expect to face helpless primitives armed with nuclear weapons and basic plasma technology, Kim observed. Instead, they're going to face an enemy that's been studying their weaknesses while pretending to be weak. Webb nodded toward the communications console. Send the message to all Outer Rim colonies. Operation Looking Glass is now active. The aliens want to test their weapons on what they think are defenseless humans. Instead, they're about to discover what happens when humans test their weapons on overconfident aliens. The command center buzzed with quiet activity as humanity's true response to the alien threat began to unfold. Hidden weapon systems came online across 17 star systems. Dimensional defense networks that the aliens had never detected activated. Human fleet elements that had been concealed in folded space began moving into position. Sir, Kim reported, all colonies confirm ready status. The aliens still have no indication that we've detected their approach. Perfect, Webb replied. Let them come. They're about to learn the most important lesson in the universe. Never underestimate an enemy, especially one that's been pretending to be weaker than they really are. The alien fleet continued its approach, confident in their technological superiority and certain of their coming victory. They had no way of knowing that they were flying into the most sophisticated military trap in galactic history, prepared by a species that had turned deception and adaptation into art forms. The Zephyrians had mocked humanity from their high ground of technological superiority. Soon they would discover that humans had been building their own high ground the entire time, one that the aliens had never been able to see. Admiral Kythera materialized on the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship Dimensional Supremacy, her 4 arms working confidently across control interfaces that existed in 7 different spatial dimensions simultaneously. The massive vessel hung in space just outside the human system designated Kepler 442, preparing to begin what should be a simple extermination operation. "Status report," she commanded, her mental voice carrying across the bridge to her subordinates who existed in various states of dimensional phase. "All fleet elements in position," reported Commander Zithkar, his crystalline form shifting through probability states as he monitored the attack formations. 17 primary vessels, 49 support craft, complete dimensional coverage from the 3rd through the 19th planes. "Human defensive response?" Kythera asked, though she expected none. "Negative, Admiral. Their primitive sensor arrays show no indication they have detected our presence. The colony settlements continue normal operations. Some civilian traffic between the inner planets, standard mining activities." Kythera felt the familiar satisfaction of a perfectly planned operation. "Begin with demonstration strikes. Target the mining facility designated Alpha 7. Use dimensional cascade weapons, level 4 intensity. I want to study how their matter responds to quantum dissolution." "Weapons charged and ready, Admiral. Initiating demonstration strike in 3, 2, 1. The dimensional cascade beam lanced out across space, a weapon that operated by unraveling the quantum structure of matter itself. It struck the mining facility and nothing happened. Kythera stared at the tactical display in confusion. "Repeat the strike, maximum intensity." The second beam struck the same target with enough force to unmake an entire moon. The mining facility continued normal operations, completely unaffected. "Admiral," Zithkar's voice carried undertones of confusion that Kythera had never heard before. "The weapon is functioning normally. Energy is being delivered to target, but the target shows no effect." "Scan the facility again," Kythera commanded, moving to the analysis station. "Full spectrum, all dimensional planes." The scan results that appeared made no sense according to everything the Zephyrians understood about reality. The human mining facility existed simultaneously in multiple dimensional states, its matter structure reinforced by quantum field generators that shouldn't be possible with human technology. "How are they doing this?" she demanded. "Their technology operates on primitive principles. They cannot manipulate dimensional matrices." "Admiral," the communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the human facility. They're speaking to us directly." "Impossible. They cannot detect our presence in higher dimensional space." "Nevertheless, Admiral, they are transmitting on our exact frequency, using quantum entanglement protocols." The holographic display activated, showing a human figure sitting calmly in what appeared to be a standard control room. But Kythera's enhanced perception could see the truth. The room extended into dimensions that human science supposedly couldn't access. "Greetings, Admiral Kythera of the Zephyrian Alliance vessel, Dimensional Supremacy," the human said in perfect Zephyrian dialect. "This is Colonel Janet Morrison, commanding Kepler 442b Defensive Operations. We need to talk." Kythera felt something she hadn't experienced in millennia, genuine surprise. "How do you know my name? How are you speaking our language?" "Because we've been listening to your communications for 6 months," Morrison replied calmly. We've been inside your computer networks, your tactical databases, even your personal logs. We know exactly who you are, what you plan to do here, and why you thought you could do it." "Impossible," Zithkar interjected. "Our systems operate in quantum-encrypted dimensional matrices. No primitive civilization could penetrate them." Morrison smiled. "Commander Zithkar, registry designation 7742 Theta, graduated from the HFY War College in what you call Cycle 45339. Currently experiencing probability phase anxiety because this situation doesn't match any scenario from your tactical training." The silence on the Zephyrian bridge was absolute. Morrison continued. "The problem with being a superior civilization is that you tend to assume other species work the same way you do. You developed advanced technology over millions of years, so you assume that's the only way to develop advanced technology. But humans don't work that way. We're very good at taking existing technology and making it better, faster. We've had 6 months to study your systems, reverse engineer your principles, and develop countermeasures." Cathara regained her composure. "Even if you somehow acquired our technology, you lack the mental capacity to use it effectively. Your species cannot think in multiple dimensions simultaneously." "You're absolutely right," Morrison agreed. "Humans can't think in multiple dimensions simultaneously. So we built machines that can do it for us, then linked those machines to human creativity, intuition, and tactical thinking. We combined your superior processing capabilities with human innovation. The result is something neither of our species could achieve alone. Technology that operates across multiple dimensional planes but guided by strategic thinking that your species lost millions of years ago when warfare became too easy." The tactical display suddenly flared with new contacts. Human vessels were decloaking throughout the system. Ships that had been hidden using dimensional folding techniques that the Zephyrians had thought were exclusive to their civilization. 47 human vessels, Zithkar reported in shock. "How did they hide from our sensors?" "Because you were only looking for human technology," Morrison explained. "You never considered the possibility that we might be using your own technological principles against you." Cathara activated the fleet communication system. "All vessels, commence immediate attack. Full-dimensional assault, maximum intensity across all target vectors." The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with weapons that could unmake matter at the quantum level, beams that operated outside normal spacetime, and missiles that traveled through folded dimensions. For 3 seconds, local space became a storm of exotic energy that should have vaporized everything within a light-minute radius. When the energy dissipated, all human vessels remained intact. More than that, they were moving into attack formations with a precision and speed that suggested tactical coordination beyond anything the Zephyrians had previously encountered. "All weapons ineffective," Zithkar reported, his crystalline form flickering with distress patterns. "Human vessels show adaptive shielding, energy absorption matrices, matter reconstruction fields. Admiral, they're using our own defensive technologies, but somehow they're more efficient." "How is that possible?" Cathara demanded. "Because," Morrison's voice continued from the communication channel, "your technology is designed by species that haven't fought a real war in millions of years. You've had no evolutionary pressure to improve your military systems. They work well enough against primitives, so you never made them better. But humans have been fighting wars continuously for our entire recorded history. We understand the difference between technology that looks impressive and technology that actually works in combat." The human vessels opened fire. Their weapons appeared to use the same dimensional manipulation principles as Zephyrian technology, but the effects were devastating in ways that made no sense to the alien tactical doctrine. Instead of trying to unmake matter directly, the human weapons targeted the control systems of the alien ships. Instead of overwhelming shields with brute force, they sent computer viruses through the same dimensional channels that the shields used for power. Instead of destroying vessels immediately, they disabled them systematically. What are they doing? Cathara asked as her ship's systems began failing one by one. They're taking us apart piece by piece, Zithkar observed. They're not trying to destroy us quickly. They're demonstrating complete tactical superiority. Morrison's image appeared on screens throughout the Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Cathara, you made one critical error in your assessment of human capabilities. You studied our technology and decided we were primitive. You observed our behavior and concluded we were limited. But you never asked the most important question. What question? Cathara asked, though she was beginning to suspect she wouldn't like the answer. If humans are really as primitive and limited as you believed, then why are we still here? Earth is a planet where 99% of all species that ever lived went extinct. Our solar system is surrounded by cosmic hazards that should have destroyed us long before we developed space travel. Our own history is filled with civilizations that collapsed despite having every advantage. Yet here we are, spreading across the galaxy despite every possible obstacle. Did you ever wonder what makes a species that survives look like when it's not trying to impress anyone? Across the Zephyrian fleet, command systems continued shutting down in precise sequence. Life support remained online, weapons and shields did not. Communication systems worked perfectly, but navigation and propulsion were completely disabled. You wanted to test your weapons on helpless humans, Morrison continued. Instead, you've discovered what happens when humans test their weapons on overconfident aliens. You're sparing us? Cathara asked in disbelief. For now. You're going to carry a message back to your alliance. Tell them that humanity is not interested in conquest or territory. We're not interested in joining your galactic civilization or submitting to your authority. But we are very interested in being left alone. Any species that respects that will find us to be peaceful neighbors. Any species that doesn't will discover that the galaxy is big enough for all of us, but not big enough for anyone to hide from consequences. The human vessels began withdrawing, leaving the disabled Zephyrian fleet with minimal power and just enough propulsion to return home. Admiral, Zithkar reported quietly, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout this system. The humans haven't shown us their real defenses yet. What we just experienced was them being polite. Cathara stared at the tactical display, showing human installations that were clearly far more advanced than anything the Alliance had detected. How many other species have made the same mistake we just made? Based on human historical records that we accessed during the engagement, Morrison answered, apparently still monitoring their communications. All of them, eventually. The difference is that most of those species learned from the experience. Your choice, Admiral. Learn from this, or discover what happens when humans stop being polite. The communication channel closed, leaving the Zephyrian Alliance fleet alone with the humiliating knowledge that they had been completely outmaneuvered by a species they had considered barely worthy of notice. As emergency propulsion slowly carried them away from the human system, Cathara began composing the most difficult report of her long military career. She would have to explain to the Alliance Council how their million-year-old civilization had been defeated by a species that was supposedly too primitive to comprehend their existence. The report would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. But more importantly, it would ensure that the mockery would end, replaced by the kind of respectful caution that dangerous species earned through demonstration rather than declaration. The humans had never asked to be feared. They had simply proven that respect was not optional when dealing with a species that had turned survival itself into an art form.